Hi, and welcome to the Hospitality Insight. In this episode, I have a very interesting discussion with Yana Kaiser about evolution of sauna. So, Yana, welcome to this episode of Hospitality Insight.
Thank you, Sam-Erik.
Well, let's get started. Can you maybe share a little bit about yourself and your background, which have led to you to be an architect as you are today, and also share the experience about your interest into saunas?
Yeah, absolutely. So my path for architecture basically started very early on. I was 11 years old when my mom asked me, "Don't you want to become a musician?" And I was like, "No, I want to become an architect." I knew quite early on that that was my goal, education that I wanted to aim for. And it was a little bit hard because I was born and raised in Germany, but my parents and I, we immigrated to Canada when I was 14. So then I started university in Canada as well, but I didn't get into architecture school, but I got into a program for art history. And in this art history program, I was able to travel in Europe and study art history, and I really saw the connection between architecture and art. And that eventually led me to do a master's in architecture in Canada, which I was unfortunate to graduate in 2020 during the pandemic. But nonetheless, that's when I graduated, and I took the opportunity to come back to Europe because I was interested in Scandinavian architecture and design. And one of the reasons for that was because I also have a personal interest in saunas.
That's terrific. So what makes the Nordic architecture appealing to you?
What I like about Nordic architecture the most is that very often it's very simplistic forms, very simplistic structures, but they're very elegantly built. They're very thoughtful, and every piece of the architecture becomes important. And I think for me as a designer, form and function are quite important aspects. And I think I see that in the Scandinavian architecture, that if you have something very simplistic like a chair, it's a very well-made chair from very high-quality materials that will last you generations. And that's a very different culture than in North America, for example, where things have been built with a lot of concrete and glass and steel, but they're not very long-lasting. So it's quite a pleasure to be in Finland, to be able to study this kind of architecture. Even though Finland is not part of the Scandinavia, it's Nordics, I know that.
It's okay. We can loosely use the wording Scandinavia sometimes and then argue behind the scenes, but are we really in the Scandinavia or not? That's quite okay. But listen, the sauna and the sauna experience, what has led you to that, to the idea, or was it something that you have already, were you brought up as when you were young, that you went to sauna with your family and so on?
No, actually not. My parents are very advocate sauna goers in Germany. And in Germany, we have a very strong bathing culture. A lot of people are unaware of that. They know of Finland and sauna, of course. But Germany has a very rich and long history of bathing cultures. Basically, it was introduced by the Romans, and these bathing houses and bathhouses were forms of healing and forms of therapy places. So for me personally, I didn't really get into sauna until much, much later. Basically, it was in 2020 when the pandemic was hitting, and my parents. My mom saw that I was extremely stressed because I was writing my master thesis and I was having back problems from sitting on the computer every day. And my mom kind of came to me and she was like, "Why don't you come with me to the sauna? Maybe the heat in the sauna can help you." And that's what I did. I went with my mom to the sauna, and that for the very first time kind of opened up this whole magical world of sauna in a way, because I really saw the health benefits on my own body. And I noticed how my back pain went away, how my muscles relaxed, and how sauna not only in this case was like very physical, but also very spiritual, and like for my mental health, it was really very good. And so that's when I started to get into sauna going. But I took it a little bit further, and I actually started to study sauna.
So what kind of studies did you do, and what are the things that you were specifically looking for, that you, what were the questions you were asking yourself? What do you like to learn? about the sauna?
So a sauna is a very interesting architectural building because it has a lot of aspects to it that are really, really extremely important to know the functions of. For example, a proper sauna, and we're talking about a sauna here in the terms of the Finnish example of a sauna, which usually is a wooden building that has a either fire stove or electrical stove with stones and rocks, where you can throw water on to create steam. The temperatures are usually between 80 to 100 degrees, and that is the definition that I believe was created in the late 1990s officially of what is sauna. And so when you take this concept then of this building that has all these like aspects, you need to understand how is the aerodynamics of steam and how does the air flow in there, because you can't completely shut it off. There has to be access to air. And so there's a lot of these like very intricate small details of what makes a sauna a very functioning sauna. But then there's also another aspect, and this is where I guess like the architectural design kind of comes in. There's a lot of practicality, but the design aspect comes in when you talk about, well, okay, the sauna as a physical thing is one thing, but what about the mental health or the experience of it, and how can the sauna be part of a hospitality experience, for example? And now we're talking more about location and design. In this case, the design can now vary and be more explorative on maybe it has a large window, maybe it's a round shape, maybe it's located in the middle of the forest. So now it's not just a sauna, but it's actually in a sauna in a unique location. And how do they work together?
Yeah. So when with the years that you have been trying different saunas, can you describe maybe one of the kind of saunas which is maybe sticks to your mind now that has been very unique? Maybe an unlike location that you've ever thought that there could be a sauna. Maybe you can just tell, and I will share with you my experience.
For sure. I mean, I think the most fun sauna that I have been in is here in Finland, and it's called Sampa sauna. Sampa sauna is one of the very few public saunas in Helsinki. Helsinki, or Finland in general, has many, many saunas, but most of them are private. So people have them usually in their houses, in their homes, in their apartments, or in swimming halls. So there aren't that many public saunas. But one of them is Sampa sauna, and that is a concept that I think is really fun because it's a volunteer-based and organized and maintained sauna that is built by local people. In this case, now they have 3 different saunas with different heats, and it's located right by the water side here in Helsinki, so you can take a hot bath in the sauna and then jump into the cold water in the ocean. And because it's made by volunteers, it has this very free-spirited kind of attitude towards. So people come there to enjoy themselves. People come there to talk to each other, to bring their friends, to have a beer, to have a good time together. So it's a very social place, but also the accessibility to it is amazing because you don't have to pay. You can go there for free. You have to chop your own wood. You have to be engaged to heat the sauna. But then also you have the people that are really enthusiastic about it.
Terrific. Now, the sauna experience I've had outside Finland was in Thailand, in the city of Bangkok. Because we used to live in Bangkok for a few years, and I met a Finn whose name was Esko Pajasalmi, and he had a PR company called PR Esko, or Presko we called him, and he had an office just off the downtown of Bangkok, in a high-rise office building. And in this office building, in his office, in the back of that office, he had imported a sauna which was built in there. Now, if you imagine that you are in Bangkok, there can be 36 degrees, up to 40 degrees at times, high humidity, and you walk into his office, which is very fully air-conditioned. But then he always invite for his guests to join his sauna, which we had. I joined it for a few times. It was a great experience because it was very different. The challenge, of course, that the sauna itself was very good. I mean, he had all the inside of the sauna. You could really think that you are in Finland because the way he had it designed. And then when you come to the shower room, of course, the thing that we didn't have the luxury of having ice cold water, so we had buckets of water with ice, and that's how we cooled ourselves at the time. And I will never forget that the time that when I tried the Finnish sauna in Bangkok some years ago. Yeah, so that's a few years ago, as I said. But let's talk a little bit about the evolution of sauna. As an architect, I'm sure you are interested in what's happening with the sauna from the traditional. So I think we have a few pictures here for
absolutely.
You can share and maybe you can comment on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are saunas that have been designed by an architecture office in Helsinki called Studio Puisto. This is the company I'm working for currently, and these saunas, I guess, in the terms of design, like they're taking the next step, because in the picture that you see here, for example, you see that the window is opening on the higher level for the viewer when they're sitting in their sauna, that they can actually look out into the nature. And so one very important aspect of the sauna design for Studio Puisto is to have the hospitality experience, the experience of being close to nature, coming there with a purpose, and having the well-being aspect of the sauna. And then this is another example where we're talking about the Scandinavian or Nordic design, where you take these very raw materials of wood, but they're crafted so beautifully together to be put together. So in a sense, you have this certain roughness that is very natural in this location, but also very deliberate design of where it's being put, how the wood is treated, and how it's being used. So I believe that this image here is showing the change room. And then this is an example. It's called the Space of Mind, and the images that you see here are actually from an exhibition that was here in Finland at the Fiskas village. So this was the exhibition called The House of an Architect, and so multiple architecture firms were participating in this. And so the Space of Mind sauna that you see here is a very, very small 10 square meter, I think it's even less than 10 square meter, 9.9 or something like that. And the idea with this is that because it's so small and so compact, you can actually bring it anywhere in the world as long as you can have a very small footing. So we have a location of where this particular example is right on the cliff here in Finland on a rock, and it's overviewing like a beautiful forest. And so this is where now a sauna becomes not just a healing place, but it becomes an experience. And so the design is being pushed towards that, to go and to have access to these very remote locations and still enjoying sauna. Yeah, and then this example here again, like I think the importance of water is so important, because you do want to have this exchange of heating up in the sauna, of course, and then cooling off. And so access to water and views to water are extremely important for your mental health and your well-being. And this is a great example where you have a direct access to a dock where you can jump into the water directly.
Well, terrific. We got some glimpses of different styles, and it's quite fascinating what can be done in terms of architecture or design to create a very interesting experience from the very traditional that we have been used to in our time. Great. Now, maybe we can now move over to Aufguss, and you can share what is that, because I really have no idea, no clue, because I only know what the traditional sauna is about. But to share that, what is it all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me give you a little history on sauna and sauna culture. Of course, Finland is the biggest example of sauna culture. Every child and adult grows up in a sauna here, and the sauna is really the center point of every family and community. In Finland, the sauna is the center point where literally life starts because people would give birth in sauna. It was the most sterile place of any place, and some people would even, well, I guess you could say, go to until their last dying death day into the sauna. So in Finland, the sauna tradition is extremely strong and integrated. But that doesn't mean that other countries and other civilizations didn't have other types of saunas. So sauna is a very, very broad thing. Any culture basically that has some kind of cold winter would have some form of sauna. So in Russia, you have the banya, you have earth sauna, you have tent saunas in the indigenous communities in North America and the Inuit. You have in Southeast Asia, you have these almost like oven-like structures that are really, really heated. You probably experienced them. So sauna is quite faceted. There's many, many different ways of doing this. And one way that happened in terms of the evolution of sauna, and this is like a very 20th century kind of phenomenon, is that Finnish soldiers were placed in Germany after Germany lost the war in the Second World War. And so many people were traumatized. And these Finnish soldiers brought the sauna culture from Finland to Germany. And eventually in the 50s and in the 60s, there was this very large movement of well-being and mental health exploration happening. So mental health doctors and researchers were looking into the benefits of the sauna. But I think a lot of people were struggling with the high temperatures. So what slowly started happening was, how can you make sauna more entertaining? And this is where we come to Aufguss. So Aufguss is the German word for putting steam on, or the Finnish word that is löyly, which basically is the action of somebody putting water onto the hot rocks and creating steam. And the steam, of course, creates the heat in the sauna, and that's the effect of the sauna going. Aufguss takes it to the next step. Now we don't just put steam on, but we also incorporate essential oils, music, light shows, and towel waving techniques. Now, to Finnish people, this sounds very odd. This sounds very extreme in a way. But what you get is a performance art. Basically, you have people that put together about 10 to 12 minute show to perform a traditional sauna or any sauna of their liking, for example, so a show sauna, a herbal sauna. There's all different kinds of variations. And this is for the enjoyment of the viewer. Now you don't have a private person that just comes to the sauna as an individual, but you actually have somebody that comes to see a performance. And so Aufguss culture in Germany now means that if you go to a thermal bath or a spa, they usually have a schedule. And on the schedule, maybe every hour or half an hour, they will have a professional who is trained in this come into the sauna and make one of these performances. And again, these performances are about 10 minutes long with usually a theme. And sometimes they incorporate essential oils or skin rubs or even food. Like for example, slices of fruits, orange or other refreshing substances, teas. And the procedure is after 10 minutes is done. And sometimes it's repeated 3 times. But this is what the German sauna culture has kind of become to. This has become extremely popular.
That's quite interesting because it's actually taking it to a different level over there, that you have lots of different sensations. You have the sensation of viewing the Aufguss Master, you have the sensation of different fragrances, and so that's quite very interesting. So actually, is it so that people tend to go to, because they last only for 10 minutes, that you might enjoy for a few times, but not only for once when you're in...
Yes, absolutely. So these kind of sauna, thermal baths and spas that you go to, usually they have multiple saunas. And the one that my parents, for example, like to go to, they live in Hanover in Germany. This one has sauna landscape, it's called. And at this sauna landscape, there's 25 different saunas. So that means that every half an hour there's a different Aufguss in a different sauna. And so you can choose and pick which one you want to go to. So maybe at 4 o'clock you want to go to the sound sauna where they have singing bowls. Or the hour after that, you want to go into the banya where it's very, very hot, and then they have the vita, like the birch branches, and they give you a good beating. So like you can really choose where you want to go, and yes, like there is a schedule, and this happens more frequent. The idea, though, of having somebody come to do an Aufguss is a form of security. In Germany, there's a lot of liability laws, and so in these like spas and thermal baths, they need to have the protection of the guest. And so that is another reason why in Germany this kind of developed into having an Aufguss Master, somebody that is trained in this, who would perform this. So not everyone can do this, and there's usually no bucket of water just freely available, which is very unusual and like for Finnish people because they like to put the steam on themselves.
Yeah, how has this Aufguss been appreciated here in Helsinki so far? Because you have been here now during this year. Have you noticed that are there some of the Aufguss performances or this kind of events going on here?
I would say Aufguss in Finland is still very unknown. The Finnish Sauna Society, they might be aware of it, but they're very traditional in their ways of doing sauna. And even the sauna culture here in Finland is, I'm not sure if it has been already declared, but I know that it's being nominated for a cultural heritage. And so this very traditional sauna is very important in Finland. And I think a lot of people are they're unaware. They don't know that other countries have kind of developed a different kind of sauna culture. However, I've been doing Aufguss here by myself and in my private sauna that can fit up to 9 people. And so we've had a couple of Finnish people visit, and they seem to enjoy it very much. Every Finn that I've exposed to Aufguss, they're intrigued because it's so different, and they can appreciate it for being different.
Very good. Now we have there's a popularity increasing in the major cities of public saunas, and in Helsinki we have a couple of them, and maybe more are coming, and also to other cities. So that could have been absolutely an opportunity to advance this and enhance the traditional sauna experience with Aufguss.
Yeah, I think so. I think Aufguss has the potential on educating people on sauna. Just like myself, like when I was in pain and when I had back pain and I needed to find a solution to get over these health ailments, I needed a person like my mother in this case who takes me with them to a sauna and kind of teaches me on how to use a sauna. Because going to a sauna can be quite intimidating for people who have never done it before. Since in Finland it's such a traditional thing, here it's kind of assumed that, oh yeah, everybody knows how to do sauna, it's not complicated. But if you don't grow up with this tradition, it can be very intimidating, particularly when people are naked. When you have this... when you come from a culture that is not as open with their body and body culture, it can be very frightening to go to a place where other people would be naked too. Yeah. So I think Aufguss has the potential of showing the benefits of sauna and for example, also the aromatherapy aspects of it and the mental health aspect by making it a little bit less formal, less traditional, and more entertaining. And when you have the entertainment aspect, people tend to come back. And then maybe once they've experienced one or twice, maybe then they would feel comfortable to do a sauna privately on their own or in a more traditional setting. Very good.
All right, we have been now talking almost about half an hour about saunas and the evolution of the saunas. So why don't you share some of the top tips to have a great sauna experience? So here we go.
Speaking of the educational aspect, right?
Yes.
Well, no, but this is exactly what we're talking about, right? The number one step on this, of course, is plan and expectation. you plan where you want to go, who you want to go with, and also learn about the place that you want to go. So, for example, if you go to a sauna Aufguss in Germany, to a sauna spa in Germany, most of them are mixed gendered, and usually they're complete nude. You are not allowed to wear a bathing suit, and the reasons for that is because of hygienical reasons. You also have to sit on a towel, so there are certain expectations on how to behave. I think it's quite obvious that staring is not allowed, and making inappropriate comments, of course, not too. But plan and understand what you are expecting of this experience yourself. Are you going to the sauna because you want to have the health benefit? Are you going because you want it to be social and have an enjoyment with your friends? Or are you going for the sauna Aufguss and you're looking for the experience, the entertainment aspect of it? And then I guess we can go right next to the next step, which is to remember to drink. When you're in the sauna, you lose a lot of sweat. That's kind of the point. But that also means that you need to hydrate yourself. And the same goes with eating a little bit, because if you don't eat, then you might have the risk of overstimulating your body and feeling faint. And we don't want to feel faint in the sauna. Everybody knows their body the best, so they have to take care of their body's needs as well. So remember to drink and to eat a little bit before. Then when we're talking about hygiene, again, always wash before going to the sauna. You're not the only one that's sweating in there. Here in Finland, most people I've encountered do wear their bathing suit, but they always take a shower before and after each sauna going. Then we have the sauna courtesy. Just as I said, staring is usually frowned upon. You are sharing a very tight and intimate space with other people, so of course you have to be acknowledgeable to like the others, and you have to behave in a manner that you would want to be there as well. And then I guess the next one would be, how long would you stay in the sauna? And really, there is no correct answer to this. I would say the only appropriate answer is how long you want it to be. Going to a sauna is not a competition. You should not try to make a contest on who can stay longer, who can endure the heat longer. But instead, you should listen to your own body and see when it feels right to leave and when you have to go. And even when we do an Aufguss performance, let's say it's 10 minutes long, it's very specific time, but if you feel like you don't feel good and you need to leave, then please do. You have to listen to your own body. And that goes the same way with the next thing. What if you can't stand a sauna? Well, there's different ways. Of course, if the heat is simply too much and you feel uncomfortable, then you have to exit. And there's no shame of it. This is not a competition. But then there are also other ways. For example, when I started going to the sauna, I always felt very uncomfortable with the heat that was on my head. And so what I started doing was I was wearing a sauna hat. That's usually a felted kind of hat that you can put on your head, and it protects my head from overheating, and I can use it as a shield for my face. So I can, if it gets really too hot, I can kind of pull it in front of my eyes and protect my eyes and nose and my forehead, and that's been really helpful to me. But there are other ways of how you can protect yourself if it's too hot. You can also bring some water inside into the sauna if you want to take a sip of water. However, you should be aware that it should be room temperature or even a warmer drink, not an ice cold chilled drink, because that can upset your stomach. Imagine if your body is trying to struggle with the heat and it's sweating, and then you digest something very cold, then your body has to work twice as hard. So you have to be careful with very cold drinks or beverages like ice cream, for example. The cool off and the getting chilled part after the sauna is part of the benefit of the health benefits that you can achieve with the sauna going. When you cool off, you get this beautiful, energizing sensation on your skin, and it's really refreshing and kind of waking you up. And I think to me, it's maybe even the most fun part of going to a sauna when you cool off. What do you think, Sam-Erik? What do you think of cooling off?
Yeah, I think my favorite experience has been actually one is in the summer with the long summer nights to enjoy the sauna where it's a little bit cooler, and then to just after the sauna sit outside and just kind of enjoy the silence and enjoy the atmosphere. But have really enjoyed. I mean, that has been the winter sauna where it's been cold enough that you go out and you don't feel cold, but even though it's -degree, you put wool socks on your feet and you go through the snow until you get to the ice, and you dip yourself into that water, which is most of the time maybe +4 degrees, and you don't freeze. But the danger is that if you stay too long, then you will start to freeze. So it means that whole sensation, how your body will react to it. I mean, that gives the blood is flowing and you feel much refreshed and so on. So those are my favorite experiences I had with the sauna.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also important to not chill too long. As you were saying, there's a danger in like freezing or extending the period of time that you're exposed to the cold for too long. And then that's, of course, not good either. But again, it goes back to you really have to listen to your body and do what your body tells you to do.
Good. I think we covered the most important tips. So thank you very much, Yana, for this. And I think this will finish off our segment about sauna. But more importantly, if people want to find out more about saunas and like to contact you, where should they look for you?
Absolutely. You can find me on my own private website. It's yanakaiser.com. You can, there's my contact information there, and I'm always happy to answer any questions about sauna or German Aufguss for that matter.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time, and look forward to hearing more about your Aufguss experiences in the future.
Thank you so much.